everybody, it's Romania Black. I'm really sad because this is our last episode of Yona the Dawn reactions for a couple months. Because we're on volume 39, and so I'm going to chapters 223 to 228. But unfortunately, the only chapters after that go up to 232. And I've been told that hopefully by the end of November, we'll have chapters 234, which would complete volume 40. So I'm really excited because that means that around Christmas time, around December, we'll get to do Yona the Dawn volume 40. But I had really hoped that it would be caught up and ready to go for next week, but 'tis not the case. And I want to do it volume by volume because I just love the volume formats. It just works the best for this story. So as much as I'm sad that we're now waiting for the volume to come out, I am really excited that we're going to get volume 39 today, because originally I was going to stop at 37. Glad I didn't do that. So yeah. I know the cover of this volume is Suwon. It fits the trio. It fits Hawk was first, Yona, and now Suwon. And it seems very appropriate because in volume 37, we had Hawk that went missing and the volume was pretty much all about him. In the last volume, we had Yona kind of coming into her own and being like, no, Suwon, I'm staying in here and helping you. You need to listen. And Suwon's stuck in his ways. And then this volume's all about Suwon. And now we know Hawk's on the battlefield. So what's going to happen? I don't know. So the exciting thing, though, is that in December, when we have volume 34 come out, I'll be all caught up with you all. So we can talk about things. That'll be the exciting thing for a brief moment. And then y'all can keep blackboxing me as we wait for volume 41 to come out. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really happy to be reading volume 39, but I am sad that we are going to take a little bit of a hiatus now until volume 40 comes out. But I am starting a new series next week that won the Patreon poll, so I'm excited for that. So next Friday, there'll be a new series coming out Friday mornings. And then whenever Yona the Dawn Volume 40 gets ready, like I said, I think Be Happy was telling me in the Discord that the earliest it would be is that chapter 234 would get translated around end of November 20th it could come out. And so I'm planning on that first week of December, hopefully being able to read it and get a reaction out on Patreon and then the following week on YouTube. So early December, that's not too far away, right? Not too far away at all. Just a couple weeks. We can do that. I can handle the wait. I'm getting to the point now where I have several series that I'm just waiting for updates on, and that's the hardest part. But we start new series in the meantime. But Yona the Dawn is really special. And honestly, I have been reading this series for nearly a year and a half, week to week, watching or reading for a year and a half. That is insane. Like 16 months. That's crazy to me, right? That it's been that long. And so I'm really going to miss seeing it week to week for a while. Better believe volume 40 when it comes out, I'm going to be all freaking out. so yeah, but things have been so intense. I said on Twitter in the Discord that I feel like since volume 32, things have just been anxiety and tension. And I'm like, Kusanagi, give us some happiness. And there's been some fun and some humorous moments, but it's just been so stressful. I'm like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm ready to see what all ends up happening. So we'll see, right? But in the meantime, I'm glad you all have stuck with me with Yona for this long, and it's not going to be that far of a break. We're only going to go on hiatus for a couple months till volume 40 comes out, and I'm going to keep reacting to this series until it ends. So there's that, right? All right, but we're not going to waste any more time. I'm so nervous to see what happens in this volume. I was given the manga decks link to read these chapters, and so I tried not to look at any of the chapter titles. I just immediately went to chapter 223 and was like, okay, 223, here we go. I started from the bottom of the page up and I was like, okay, 223, there it is. So I don't really know the chapter titles. I was just clicked on it really quick so I didn't, linger too long, but we're going to find out. So it's exciting. This is actually the side I read Ace of the Diamond on, so I'm pretty familiar with the format of it, but we're going to start this here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Okay, as much as a cliffhanger as that was to leave on, I feel a little bit better reading this volume. Oh my gosh, I do feel better. Okay. I was going to bring Whiteboard Kun out. I thought about it, and then I was like, I don't really know what... There's stuff to keep track of, but I feel like it's not enough to write on Whiteboard Kun, because mainly this was all about just finishing this battle up. This volume was about finishing this battle and moving on to the next phase of everything, because... And I'm glad. I feel like Kusanagi is not one of those mangaka, because this is a shoujo. And that's fine. Nothing to take away from it being a shoujo. It still is like got as much action as any shonen I've ever read. But what I like about Kusanagi is she does not drag out battles endlessly. She's like, that's not the point of this series, right? The battles are a part of it, but that's not really the end point. So I'm glad she didn't drag this out. Like, and Kusanagi's not somebody that drags out things. Like we had Hawk go missing in volume 37. My dog's like at my feet. We had Hawk go missing in volume 37. He's back in volume 38 and back there by volume 39. I'm like, Kusanagi does not make you drag, like she freaks you out for a good while. She makes you stress and freak out, but then everything's okay. So I'm like, all right, good. But yeah, so this whole thing here, them not knowing chapter 223 what's happening, I was the most stressed out I was in this entire volume was worrying that Hawk wouldn't get that Senju plant back. I kept thinking, okay, no, Kaji's gonna leave and then he's not gonna get it back and that's gonna be the end of it, and he's gonna make it back to Suwon and them, but without the plant, and then it's gonna be like, what do we do? That was my biggest fear, but thank God that didn't happen. But yeah, this whole first part of the volume, I was a little worried about that. I was like, Kusanagi, are we really going to do that? But then Ron shows up. And what I love about this is that Ron doesn't lie. Ron does not say that Hawk is not, is one of his members of his army. He doesn't lie. He tells the truth, but there's that respect, right? And God, so Cheagle's the worst. I'm sorry. I thought Gobi was the worst. Cheagle might actually be the worst character in this series so far. I thought Gobi's pretty bad. I don't like Gobi at all, but Cheagle is pretty awful because he beat up Ron after he came back. Even though he caused the flood and did all that damage, he still, because Hawk's like, I didn't cause you those injuries. Where'd they come from? But the fact that Hawk said to a strong fighter like you, like he called General Ron a strong fighter. And then we cut to Cheagle saying you're useless. And that contradiction, that comparison, and they just like beat the snot out of him. And it took the other Catan, it took the other general to make him stop. It's like, oh my gosh. And God, Catan's eye patch, it may have been from Cheagle. Cheagle's just the worst. And I don't blame Maignan for not wanting to go back. She's like, hell no, I ain't gonna want to go back to that. He'll probably kill me. Or worse, right? So I felt bad for Ron because he's sitting there crying and he was just like, he was tearing up. He was like seeing Hawk and realizing that Hawk like treated him with so much respect as a soldier and as a combatant. And then his own king treats him like garbage. It's like, what the hell is this? But he's like, no, he's not. He's like, you're alive. And he's like so glad that Hawk is still alive and able to keep fighting. He's like, no, he's an enemy. And I'm glad. And I like the Hawk kind of gives him a grin like, I'm glad you didn't vouch for me and get yourself in more trouble, right? And he's like, I guess we'll have to face head on. I was fully expecting him to take off the armor, but how Hawk made it this far, dude, he's inhuman. There's no way. Hawk is like unstoppable, right? Oh my God. But again, we tie him and Suwon together, right? Him and Suwon in this volume. We're getting closer to that confrontation. We got him and Suwon together, but we didn't get them to talk because Suwon and Hawk were both at death's doors. And so now I'm like, once you guys heal up, I need you both to like have a powwow. Let's have a talk, right? Oh my gosh. But yeah, and then Hyundai staying behind to help Hawk. That was awesome. Them making them like raise the white flag and run. I love it. They're like just talking things through. And then Kaji being like, Kaji and Hawk have this conversation about like the dynamics of their kingdom, because Hawk's like, well, you know, we don't go around chopping kids' fingers off for stealing things. And Kaji's like, well, Yuhan did all this awful stuff to us. He's like, do you even know your history? But here's the thing. He calls him excessive, and Kaji's like, don't you know what Yuhan did? And Hawk looks back at him like, Like, Hawk has been learning this entire series about what Il did in the past, what Yuhan did. And what I love is that Hawk takes that knowledge and that information and he just fires back saying, I'm talking about the present. He's like, I don't care what happened in the past. It's over. That part doesn't matter. And I'm like, it's such a crazy dynamic because Suwon is so fixated on the past and Suwon is so trapped by the past in a lot of ways. And Hawk is like, no, I don't care about that. I'm worried about now and the future. Yona's worried about the future. Hawk's worried about the present. Suwon's worried about the past. It's just like they're all three of them together. If they all three work together, then we'd have problems solved, right? And they're now all three together, so, and away from Hiryuu Palace, so we'll see how that goes. But he's like, at the very least, he's like, Suwon doesn't chop kids' fingers off, right? Now, if Hawk knew what Suwon had been planning up on the hilltop, but again, he doesn't know that. And then he says, even though he's done some unforgivable things, he treats his people the best he can. And I believe in him. There it is. There it is. He's like, and that's the step that's Yona and him are on the same page. Like, he's done some unforgivable things, but he's had the people's hearts with the best of intentions. And he's like, what am I talking about? And it's like, yeah, no, Hawk, you just came out and said it. You defended him. He defended him. And then Kaji's like, shut up. And then Hawk's like, oh, damn, my wound reopened. I'm like, stop just saying that like it's nothing, Hawk. What are you doing? And then he brings up Maignan. And I love when Kaji, so Kaji we find out is kind of like Yoon. Yoon reminds Maignan of Kaji when he was younger. That's interesting to know. And that kind of makes sense, actually, now that she points it out. Kaji has like a dislike of people. Yoon didn't like nobility. And he likes plants. Yoon likes plants. Like they'd be friends, right? I like that Kusanagi is pointing out that between these two sides that are at war with one another, there are actually a lot of similarities. And it's like, you guys aren't so different, you know? If you just worked through it, it'd be fine, you know? Like, just pointing that out there, right? It's fascinating. So there's that. But yeah, so she points that out. And then I love Hawk's face whenever Kaji's like, well, Maignan was taking in to be Suwon's new concubine, and Hawk is like, Suwon ain't taking a concubine. Like, even Hawk knows. He's like, do you know Suwon? Like, it's just great. He's like, no, Maignan's happy. She eats well and she's not being in prison. She's fine. And so there's a part of me that thinks that Kaji wants to believe Hawk in that moment. Like, okay, she's okay. Even if he goes back empty-handed, he knows that she's fine based on what Hawk said. And Ron knows that Hawk's a respectable and honorable man. So if he says it, he's probably telling the truth, right? But yeah, I thought it was Jaeha touching down, but no, we were too soon for that. It was Zeno. But man, just Zeno being just a bloody mess. Like, he's just been stabbed over and over and over again and fired all these arrows. And Hawk's face, Hawk is like, nope. And I realize now that Hiryuu had not met Hawk. He was talking about Zeno when he said, look who's still alive. And Zeno's like, oh, well, hey, he's like, big bro. He's like, young lad, you're still alive. You're a beast. He's like, how are you still living? He's like, I use my body to protect people from the arrows. And then this guy shows up. And he just shows up ready to attack. And it's clear that Ron and Kaji don't like him. And he doesn't like them because he's like, what are you doing slacking off? And they're like, he's like, it's your fault our army's having a hard time. He's like, and so Hiryuu is like, oh, we'll just take Zeno to Chagall and let him be his toy. And it's like, nope, not having that at all. And Kaji's like, just go back to your position. We don't like this. And then Hiryuu, because he's a dick, is like, oh, you've gotten pretty arrogant. You were that teary-eyed kid who was always running after Maignan. But she isn't here taking a beating for you anymore. And Kaji's like, you bitch! And so then Hiryuu makes the mistake of getting too close to Hawk. And says, tie him up so he can't move. He's like, oh, gee, I'm sorry about that. I'm a citizen of KOHKA. And this is my friend. And he just straight up killed Hiryuu. Straight up murdered him. You know what? I'm glad. At this point, I was like, he was so making me mad. Like, just him toying with bodies and just toying with Zeno and just being the worst person, and then just telling off his own people, and then was like gonna like drag Zeno back as a toy. I'm like, I'm glad Hawk got him out of the way. And Hawk, I like Kusanagi was like, nope, we're done with him. We're not messing around with him. Bye. And has Hawk kill him. And everybody's like, even Zeno's like, okay. And Hawk's just like, I'm done. I'm glad that Kusanagi got his character out of the way because I didn't like him at all. And I was like, nope. And Kusanagi's like, bye. Hawk's not messing around. We ain't got time for that. So, yep. He just got him. And they're like, he's dead. And then Kaji says the man I hated most in the world is gone in the blink of an eye. So even Kaji didn't like him, right? And then Hawk just collapses. He's like just bleeding everywhere. And so they go to like take his head, and Zeno's like, nope. He's like, I've already healed up. I got my armor on my hand. I'm ready to go. Let's get out of here. And he says that he's going to protect Hawk, but then they're going to just trample them underfoot. And I like that we got that little brief flashback of Kaji where Maignan like saves him. And he looks a little bit like Yoon there. And she's so pretty. Like, even she has like such a Sailor Moon vibe. Even when she's on the battlefield, she has the long flowing hair, has the Sailor Moon buns. I love Maignan's design. It's really cute. But yeah, then Zeno. This combination. I love that Sheena and Jaeha show up, and they manage to knock everybody out. And Sheena's like, we've solved. He's like, Zeno, I found you. And Zeno's like, oh, I'm glad you guys are safe. And he's like, I invented a technique. It's called Jaeha carries me, and I knock people out even though I'm paralyzed. And Jaeha's like, it's not as easy as it sounds. But yeah, so General Gunte and Talk and the others from Awa were getting all of the people off the battlefield. And I like that Zeno's like, gee, that's nice. You're hurting yourself, except it's not. Stop. And then they see Hawk. And I'm sorry, but Sheena's eyes and face where he's like he just gets so excited seeing, like, oh my God, I can't. The stare as he like edges himself closer to Hawk, where he's just staring at him, and Hawk's like, you're scaring me. Oh my God. And he's like, I wanted to find you sooner. Much, much sooner. It's frustrating. I love that Sheena has like his head back and he looks so handsome. That shot of them just talking to each other while they're lying down on the ground. Oh my God. I love it. I love that idea. And they're like, say that you're alive. And Zeno's like, he's dying. We have to hurry and get him out of here. But I love this moment between them. But just Sheena, he's like, a lot happened and I wasn't able to come right back away. I'm sorry. I swear you guys really do shake things up. And then the moment that Jaeha says that she was crying a lot, Hawk starts to get a little worried. But then Jaeha's like, I'm just kidding. He doesn't tell Hawk about Suwon being the one to see her cry. He doesn't say that. But God, I just love Sheena and Hawk like lying side by side having this conversation. I read a whole manga of them just lying side by side, just conversing with one another. It's great. I love it. It's probably my favorite Sheena moment in a long time. But yeah, Jaeha is just like, she's fine though. He's like, we're fine. And then White Snake's like running through the camp with judo, shaking everything up and doing their business. It's great. The fire tribe leader, Kyoga, is facing Hatan, doing all that. And then Hatan is like, we are going to get wiped out for nothing. His Highness Chagel isn't going to come onto the battlefield. And I like they discuss that that's the difference between them. Chagel will not bother himself to come on the battlefield, but Suwon and Yona are there. And so they're like, we're not going to make it. We've got to retreat. So they all decide to go back. And I like that Ron says that he tells Kaji that Val's on his way to rescue her. And Kaji's like, okay. All right, fine. Fine then. And so then they're like, Hawk, the battle's over. And that's when he remembers the Senju herb. And that look on his face, he's like, I can't go back without it. And he like makes himself go get it no matter what. And I was like, oh my God. Like he goes to face Kaji like a man on a mission, right? And like he just has this crazed look in his eye like he has to get it. And we don't see what happens, right? We don't see what happened to Kaji. So Kaji could be dead. We don't know. We don't know if Kaji's dead or alive. I don't think Kaji's dead. I think he cut off the Senju herb, grabbed it and ran. Right? I think he did that. But I don't know. He may have killed him. He killed Karau, so I don't know. And then we cut back to Suwon and Yona, and they're talking about them winning. And then Suwon realizes, he's like, no matter how unbearable the pain, I thought I could claim victory on my own. But then he realizes that Yona and the Four Dragons and Hawk were instrumental to him winning. And he's like, yeah, I was saved by the things that I discarded. So it's like, yeah, Suwon, you don't have to discard things around you to win, because those things could be really, really important if you keep them near you. Like, you don't have to be by yourself. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to do this on your own. There are other people that will help you. You just don't have to discard them to do it. And I love that he's slowly coming around maybe to that, right? But Yona, I love that she told Suwon to get down and said a South Kai soldier was coming. I was like, girl, do not fire that arrow at Hawk. And she doesn't, because she sees who it is. Oh my God, her face. Her face, like, I want to get a picture of that image, because when she sees that it's Hawk, oh my God, and knows that he's back. And Hawk jumps off the horse with the damn Senju herb. Oh my God. And just chucks it right in front of him. Right in front of Suwon. I'm like, are you joking? Like, doesn't say a word. He's like, here's this. And he just falls on him. Oh. With the bloody sack. Kusanagi! And this isn't even the best chapter. It's not even the best chapter. So then we get this side chapter, this like alternate universe with the Thunderbeast. Why not? Why not? I will say I love the Thunderbeast design. It's freaking cool. With the feathers and the chain and the coat, and he has the claws. It looks very much like the Dark Dragon, and I kind of love it. It's such a great design. And I love that Teiyu is the source of all teasing in all of this. Like it's so great. I love that Hyukchi's like, I'm just here because I have to be. And they call him Fukuchi, but it's great. But man, he just looks really good, right? And so they try to get him to go away. They're like, we're going to give you a wife and a place to live and a job far away so you can leave us alone. But then Yona comes over and he's like, I don't want any of those things. I got this right here. And it's like, I wanted him and Yona to get married. And then he grabs his hand. He's like, can you leave us here a moment? Like him grabbing her hand and everything. And I love that he like wants some time alone with Yona, and Taejun is just like, no! It's cute. This was a really, really cute little side chapter, and Hyukchi kind of nails it on the head. He's like, aren't you afraid he's gonna like take your love away from you? And then we figure out that he just wanted he's like, we're gonna be called the Happy Hungry Bunch and the Dark Dragon. Oh, so cute. Even in an alternate universe, we still have this ending. Oh. And of course, I think this chapter was just an excuse for Kusanagi to draw Taejun like she normally does, because he looks so cute with like his big eyes and his little face. It's really cute. I love it so much. But yeah, so chapter 225, Suwon wakes up, and I like that all of our suspicions are confirmed in this chapter. Like, a lot of us were talking in the Discord and in the comment section that we didn't want the Senju herb to cure the Crimson Sickness, because that seems like kind of like a cheap cop-out, for it to be a cure-all. But it does reduce his symptoms, right? But Minsu makes note, or Suwon makes note, that he's like, the Crimson Illness didn't disappear, but at that instant, I forgot the pain. The moment that Hawk landed on him, he forgot the pain because Hawk was there. And it looks like it almost looks like Hawk is kissing his shoulder, and I can't. Because I'm like, these two, oh my God. And Yona's just like, oh my God, Hawk, like, seeing Hawk like collapse against him, and seeing when Suwon says he's still alive, he's still breathing, seeing the three of them together is like the best thing ever. And the thing of it is, Suwon knows. He knows now that Yona loves Hawk. Like, Suwon knows. So, God, it's so good. Kusanagi rewards. She makes you suffer and makes you feel stressed and you're freaking out, and then she'll give you like a couple chapters like, here's some reward. And that's what 225, 226 are. They're like just rewards for you. Like, here you go. You've suffered enough. Have at it. And then, oh my God, when they all look, like they all run to the battlefield and they're like, Hawk was like sprinting past us. Their face, when she looks over to them and she has the tears in her eyes and she's like, everyone, Hawk's come back. He came back. And they all like gather around her as she's crying. And Jaeha's just like she was able to cry in front of them. Because they all were that special to her. I'm like, oh my God, girl. Yes. And so then Hawk's like, he was alive. And so Minsu, who's like, you probably clearly care about Hawk, so you should know that he is healing up, but he lost a lot of blood and he's bedridden. And so we cut to the dragons, who are all by Hawk's side, watching over him. And I love that Sheena and Al like lost control and got drunk, and they have like the beams coming out of their eyes. It's great. And Zeno's like, go to sleep. Zeno's like, I'm the only one who shouldn't have to sleep, right? And I love when Yona comes in. She's like, are you guys still awake? And they all like pretend to be asleep. And she's like, Jaeha, you're holding some liquor, so you can't fool us. I do love Jaeha's face with his hair down like that. He looks so handsome. Where she's like, once Hawk gets better, you can drink with him. And he's like, but isn't soju too good? I can't resist it. And Zeno wants to know how the king's doing, which is interesting. And she's like, oh, he's doing better. And Jaeha's like, then everything's okay, right? She's like, so we'll touch base on that dream here in a little bit, but it starts to rain and she's afraid that the tent is going to get flooded. So she goes to get some sandbags. And when Hawk woke up, I originally thought that Hawk was going to like go find her to help her with the sandbags. Like he was thinking she was doing it herself. But no, Hawk has some post-traumatic stress from the flood. Like it has emotionally impacted him. Like he has some PTSD from it, right? We also get J-Hawk fan service. We get Judo fan service. I'm sorry, excuse me. We finally, we're getting fan service. Kusanagi's like, all right, you fools, you thirsty wenches, I'll give you some skin. Like, we get judo skin. We get some, guy's got like an 8-pack. How is he still single? Gunte's right. What's the deal? Right? I love that. And I love that actually Junji, the water tribe general, he doesn't help her get the sandbags, but he gives her his umbrella, right? He helps give her the umbrella and has his soldier do it for him. So that was nice of him. He gave her the umbrella in the rain. But then she notices Hawk. She thinks it's somebody wandering around, but it's Hawk. And he doesn't even recognize she's there. He's just thinking about the water and wanting to tell Yoon and the others about the village, about it flooding. And it makes sense. Hawk has been on autopilot since waking up amidst the corpses. He's been on autopilot to get back to them. And now everything is catching up to him. And he has, like, the rains created this post-traumatic stress for him where he's beside himself. And even to the point where Yona grabbing him, she's like, hey, I'm here. It's okay. And he's like, I gotta stop you. And he's like, I can't see anything. And he's like, if I don't hurry, I won't be able to save everyone. She's like, Yoon's in the castle. It's okay. And she's like, you protected everyone, Hawk. And he's like, so it's over. And so Yona's like, how do I make the rain go away? And she like covers his ears up so he can't hear it. Oh my God. She's like, how do I make the rain in his head go away? And when she covers the air, he's like, oh, it's Princess. She's like, yes. And I love that. She's like, to think that Hawk, who is so strong, would be the one to tremble. I'm like, oh my God, girl. Just for the record, as soon as she was like, found this little storage room out of the rain, I was like, well, what's going to happen here? It's just the two of them. There's no dragons here now. And oh my God, like Hawk like being with her. I'm sorry, I could just stare at this artwork for hours of him like kissing her. And yeah, the one before me really is the princess. It's not a dream, is it? Kusanagi, you spoil us. And then, yeah, Hawk was ready to be down for something. We don't know exactly what, but he was ready. He's like, am I still in the water? Like, he was like, am I dreaming? Right? He's like, am I on the battlefield? My head is so dizzy. Which it's good that she stopped him, because the moment he said that his head was dizzy, I was like, you're not in the right place to be doing these things. As hot as this is, you need to stand back a step. But him saying, I thought, won't I be able to see her again? He's like, I don't know if I'm dreaming or not, so I don't know if I'm allowed to do something like this. Meaning that he's dreamt of doing something like this. And it's like, or he would like to be dreaming of doing something like this. And I love that Yona's like, as much as I'm like all about this, because he even has like his hand in her hand, she's like, no. She's like, it's pitch black and I can't see anything. And she's like, I'm getting lightheaded. Oh, girl. She's like, everything's going so fast, I can't say anything. And he's like, I'm sorry. She's like, and yet now you're right in front of me. I love that, though. I love that she's like, no, it's pitch black. We're in a shed. If we're going to do this, it's going to be later. Just like, I'm like, Kusanagi, you just keep tiptoeing us that way. You just keep tiptoeing us. I'm like, And then Hawk's like, yeah, me too. He's like, when I was thinking about you, it was painful, but when you're here in front of me, it's like, you're not sad anymore. Oh, I love that. It's so nice. And then she's like, I want to protect him. And I want to walk alongside him again. And Hawk's like, so I guess at least this is allowed. her sleeping right beside him. Yeah, I'm like, I'll take it. I'll take her sleeping right next to him and snuggling with him. I'm fine with that. Okay. And then them waking up together. I'm okay with that. And he has a little lapis lazuli for chapter 226. Oh my gosh. Them together. And of course, Hawk wakes up and realizes, like, he's like, was that a dream? He's like, oh my God, no. I really did try to like push myself on her. It's like, shit. But she doesn't even, not even fazed by it. She's like, I know what's up. She's like, it's all fine. We're all good. Oh, I love that Hawk was like, crap, I shouldn't have done that. Like, I shouldn't have been that way. But she's like, it's fine. It's a new day. And he says, I don't hear the sound of water anymore. That he just sees her like that. Oh, I love the way the Hawk is drawn in that panel. Like, he just looks in awe of Yona. We all need a Hawk. I know I've said that a million times, but it rings true. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I love that Minsu's like, what's going on? He's like, where were you guys at? And Hawk's like, I'm not going to worry about it. Let's just not talk about it. And so then they're like, you need to rest and get better. But Kija has his glaive redone. That's awesome. Glad for that. And they're like, thanks to what you gave him, His Majesty improved a little bit. It's not completely cured his illness, but thank you. And Hawk's like, well, it was Yoon that did all the work. So he's like, I'm going to go sleep instead. And Hawk is totally listening on everybody while he's sleeping. It's like, come on. And so Minsu, he's like, it got to me that, like, after all this time, despite everything that's happened, Hawk still wanted him to be okay. So then he thinks of Maignan. And we get the little fast forward that right now Yona and them can't go anywhere because they can't leave Kin Province because they don't want to like create an opening for them to come back. So they're stuck there. Judo and Gunte, are just at odds with one another, and Kishuk's like, whatever. The Wind Tribe is healing up Hyundai, which is great. Kyoga and Junji are like getting along. And then Yona and Hawk and Suwon are they're not talking together, but I'm like, y'all need to. And you probably will have to if Hiryuu burns, right? I'm afraid that they're going to burn Hiryuu Castle and all the journals and everything will burn down with it. That's what I'm afraid is going to happen, that they're going to light a fire to Hiryuu Castle and that's going to be the end of it. And then I guess they're going to have to rebuild it from the ground up, which I guess isn't totally a bad thing if they work together, but it's still really sad because you're like, you want them to, work together on this. And so then the rest of this is about Yoon and Maignan. And I did ship Maignan and Yoon, but now that Val's in the picture, it's like, Yeah, I get it. I get the Val Maignan ship. I'm here for it. I want them to get married and run away together. I want that for them. But I like that Yona's become her like platonic bestie. I like that Yona's become her best friend. It's great. And I am surprised that she honestly, Maignan, when she said she wanted to get out of the palace, I was like, I thought she was going to try to run away. But here's the thing, Maignan, she knew once she left South Kai that it was an all or nothing thing. That she was either going to get Suwon to let her into the kingdom, or she probably was going to die. Because like she tells Val, she's like, I can't go back. She's like, I left. She's like, I willingly stayed behind. She's like, Chagul is not going to let me off the hook, and you know it. So she's like, no, I'm not leaving. She's like, I'm staying here. She's like, everything's fine. They're feeding me, treat me well. I got my new friend here. I've met 2 bestie girls that we can do like love chats with while drinking. She's like, I'm having a great time. Honestly, Maignan and Ayura and Tetra, these 3 badass women, I would like hang out with them at a heartbeat because they'd be so much fun. They would be fun to go have a drink with, I feel like. I feel like, you know, they both have the thing where like you get kind of like tipsy and then you start talking about all your love quarrels. Like that's what I felt like these 3 are like, and I'm all about it. But Riri, or Lily as she's called in this volume, Riri has been going to Ogi for intel, and she's been helping him out. And so Yoon and Maignan kind of get drug over there, and Ogi knows just enough to know that they've won, but Yoon still doesn't know the Hawk's okay, right? And Maignan seems like she's kind of just observing and watching, right? And I love that Tetra is like, oh, you look like you're a drinker, so how about we start and go along with you? And Yoon's like, let's go back, and she's like, we're having fun. And then of course she talks up Val, and we find out that Val very much. It's so funny because Val kind of has like a Hawk vibe to him. A wee bit like a Hawk vibe where he's kind of dedicated to her. He just kind of presents himself kind of like Hawk. And she sort of has like, it's basically, yeah, like if Hawk and Suwon were allowed to be together, that's Val and Maignan. Because Maignan kind of has like the same kind of air to her as Suwon does, right? It's interesting. But so they go back and then the whole Dromos appear. Like the Dromos appear and then Val shows up. And I love that Ho loves Val because who doesn't, right? I love Val's design. He's great. I just love that spread of her seeing him. And Ho is just like carefully tucked into his arm. The one thing I do miss about these chapters being fan translations is that we don't get like the afterword with Kusanagi. I do miss that. So I'm looking forward to getting that when we get the official releases to come out. But Val's like, oh, your hair, it's so short. And she's like, yeah, why'd you come here? And she fights him back, right? Like they have this little quarrel where they fight back against each other. But Val has such like a Hawk demeanor. He has such a Hawk vibe, right? Val is just, he's got the Hawk vibe where he kind of comes across as he's nonchalant and not impressed and like, eh. But then at the end of the day, he fights to save her. And it's like, okay. All right, sure. But yeah, she's like, oh, my little Ho. And he says he's going to take her back to South Kai. But she's like, look, I don't want to go back. And she explains that to him. I do love the panel of them like in the battle gear and her and him walking alongside one another. I do like that shot quite a lot. The chapter 227 cover. That's good. So I like that she's like tries to convince Val. She's like, I'm not leaving. She's like, I'm fine here. And Yoon helped protect me. So bye. And that's when they stumble into Riri and the others. And she's like, something really strange is going on. All the guards are being taken out by the Dromos who are going to set fire to Kudo and Hiryuu Palace, which is terrifying. And so, yeah, the Dromos have a very scary demeanor. They're like, they all have the masks on. They're assassins. They like instantly get up on you. They have like a Dementor vibe. It's creepy. I don't like it. And yeah, they're just like, they wanted her to come back. And she's so terrified of them. She doesn't think there's a chance for her to escape. But then Ayura and Tetra come and they're like, we got your back. And so they all fight them together to get away. And then Val comes in to help her. Oh my gosh. I love that shot when he like gets in between the Dromos and her. And he's like, wait a minute. He's like, why did you intend to hurt her? We got orders to bring her back, not to hurt her. What's up? And he's like, leave this to me. And so they fight and stuff. And I love that he takes the sword and like gets her her robe there so she can't leave. And she's like, I don't know anything about this kingdom. I've just been held here against my will. She's like, my dad's from KOHKA. I'm going to die soon. Let me stay here. I don't want to go back and die in Kai. And Val's like, huh? Like he didn't know any of this. And so I just want Val and her to stay in KOHKA and live out the rest of their days together. I don't think that's hard. And she's like, let me die in peace. And again, I feel like if this is like Hawk and Suwon, that she's like begging him to let her just like die in peace, I feel like his actions and emotion towards hers are kind of like how Hawk would be if Suwon was like this to him. So yeah, I feel like it'd be the same way. And then Tetra just has to come in. Tetra's like, oh, this is the guy that you were talking about. This is the guy you have a crush on, right? And I love that Mainyon's like, stop! And she's like, oh yeah, like, what are you talking about? And it's so obvious. And Val's like, you've liked me this whole time? What? And I love that Yoon's like, look, let's distraction. And so they all run away, leaving them awkwardly staring at each other. And she's like, please say something. And he's like, it's too much information. But no, now he knows. He knows that she loves him. And she's like, She's like, I'd rather be on the battlefield than dealing with this. It has shades of Hawk and Suwon, but also has shades of Yona and Hawk. So I like the tie. I like Mainyon is this mixture of Yona and Suwon. It's really cool. I like it a lot. But yeah, there's this fire, and Mainyon's like, look, I know that you can't betray your people and your family, so just leave me be. Go back to your kingdom and just let me die here. Like, just let me go. And so then they decide to take Yoon. After the Dromos guy's like, well, we were given orders that we could cut your legs to bring you back, which is disturbing. And then Val's like, nope. He's like, I'm not letting you attack her. And she's like, you've just like sealed your fate. You've just made it to where you can't go back. And he's like, I'm not letting you lay a hand on her. I'm like, ah. He's like, I'm grateful for everything His Majesty did, but sorry. And again, I feel like it's very much Hawk vibes of I'm going to protect you no matter what. Right? And so then they take Yoon, which is such a bitch move. And I'm like, I'm worried about Yoon and his safety. If they're taking him to where they're going to light a fire, I'm really worried about that. Yona and them are very far away from Hiryuu Palace, so they can't immediately get back and save him. So what do we do with that? I'm very worried. And she's like, you defied the Dromos. She's like, Val, you can't turn back. What are you going to do, stay together with me? And then Val very adamantly was just like, well, living together with you sounds fine. And she's like, was that a proposal? And he's like, no, where did I say that? But I do think that after all this is said and done, if both of them make it out alive, I fully want them to get married now. I'm like, I've completely turned over being like, let's go save your friend. She's like, Val. Again, it's, if the story won't let us have Hawk and Suwon together, let us have Val and Mainyon, and it'll kind of be like what that would be like, right? I still want Suwon to live, though. I want him to live and be with Hawk and Yona, for sure, but I'm happy with this, too. But yeah, the city is in flames. And then, yeah, just everything. And then Val is slowly realizing, although Mainyon said she doesn't have any friends, Val's like, no, you have more friends than you think. You think that Yoon is your only friend, but you got this girl Riri and Tetra and Ayura and Ogi. You've got all these people like fighting beside your cause. He's like, you've got more friends than you realize. And again, that's very much tied to Suwon. Suwon thinks he's by himself in all this. And I'm like, dude, you are not. You don't just have Kishuk. You have Yona and Hawk with you, supporting you. You just got to realize it, right? I feel like it's the same thing. And so then Yuna's like, what do I do? And then that's when Hiryuu comes up to fight the assassins. And he's like, if only everyone were here. But honestly, I don't know, because Yona's dream was about Hiryuu Palace burning and Suwon and Mainyon and the dragons dying. So I don't know, because I'm like, if they go back to Hiryuu Palace now while it's burning, is that going to like ignite her dream? I don't want that to happen, right? I don't want that to happen. Nope. And I could just see what I don't want to happen is I don't want them to be like, oh, Suwon and the dragons will go to Hiryuu Palace. You stay here with Hawk. I don't want that too, because then that could be like her dream as well. Because Hawk's way too injured to like do anything. So nope. I don't get good vibes. I don't get good vibes at all. I'm like, if they all go back and it's like her dream, I don't get good vibes. Nope. I don't want that to happen. Oh my God. And now we have to wait 2 months. Or like a month. It's actually more like a month and a half. We just gotta wait like 6 weeks, right? 6 weeks, that's all. These were really good chapters, and I loved these so much, and I'm so happy that things are better now than they were. This volume was like a big, giant, even though the end of it was like, we're just right back in the fire once again. Like, literally, we're back into the fire. Absolutely, like literally back into the fire, but I feel a lot better now than I did at the start of this. So yeah, I do feel better, but now it's like, okay, what do we do? So, I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below, what you all thought of this volume. Obviously, no spoilers for the chapters I have not been able to read yet, but I'm really excited for volume 40 to see what cover we get. Will it be Maignan and Val on the cover? Will it be I hope it's Maignan. I'd like Maignan to be on the cover. I think she deserves it. I think she'd be cool to be on the cover of volume 40. But we will see. But I'm curious now, like, because there's so much stuff that's left unsaid. Like, Hawk and Yona have rekindled. But we don't know about, like, Suwon and Hawk need to talk. I want Suwon, Hawk, and Yona to talk together. I don't want them all to split up and go back to the palace. I don't know. I'm just worried about Yona's dream, and I don't want it to happen. I don't want the dragons to die, and I don't want Suwon and Maignan to die, and I'm really worried about this dream and what it spells for Yona. I don't like it. So, I don't know, y'all. But I'm really excited to see what happens in the next chapters. I think I won't look at chapter titles, but right now, like if I go to the menu, it tells me like right now chapter 232 is out. So we have 228, we have 229, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 34. Yep. So we have up to chapter 234. So we only have 2 chapters left to have to come out for me to read the next volume. And I'm like, okay, yay. So, yep. So I'm excited. So I'm thinking early December. I think chapter 233 is supposed to come out early in November, like early this next month. And then chapter 234 might come out by the end of November if Kusanagi gives y'all 2 chapters in a month. So I'm thinking December. At least December will be when we read the chapter. And I'm really excited for that to be the case. So yeah. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. But I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please no spoilers. But yeah, we're going to take a brief hiatus, start a new series, and then while that's going on, in December, we'll have volume 40 of Yona of the Dawn. And I cannot tell you how excited I am. But this was like a big relief of tension before waiting. I'm like, thank you. So in the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Yona of the Dawn. Bye.